Pinedale is a fiercely isolated community. It was founded in 1904 in the mountain country of western Wyoming.
This is dyed-in-the-wool cowboy country.
One of the prettiest places in Wyoming, quite frankly.
There's no Walmart, and we don't want one.
Most beautiful Main Street setting you've ever seen in your life. Not even a stoplight in the town.
Your word is gold. It doesn't matter how much you make. It doesn't matter who you are.
Always had agriculture and limited tourism. And that's the only thing that sustained it throughout its 100 years of history until the end of almost close to its 100th birthday, when a huge gas boom came in and impacted it massively. The heritage that many of us grew up with was very much centered around community ownership and a sense of responsibility of taking care of your fellow humans here.
The area has incredible wildlife and fisheries.
Everybody here knows where everything comes from. You know, people that live here know where their hamburger that they're eating,
Where
where
beef
that
comes
comes
from.
from. You know, they know where the milk comes from.
When we first moved here in 1980, my husband and I, it was very small, idyllic. Gas stations closed on Sunday, grocery store closed on Sunday, everything pretty much locked down. Summer was busy with tourists. Winter, completely, the streets were rolled up, and it was fun.
This is an honest place. People are up front, and, there's no, hidden agenda.
You know, ever since I can remember, there's always been some kind of drilling for oil going on, you know, sometimes limited, sometimes not so limited.
It's been known for a long time that there's been oil and gas out in the Jonah Field and the Pinedale Anticline. And the first attempts to mine it were actually go clear back to the 1930s. They did succeed in getting products out of the ground, but most of it, about 90%, as my understanding, was natural gas, and only 10% was oil. And they recognized that they couldn't drill it without somehow coming up with a really big way to break up those rocks. This also coincided with a time in American history in which the Atomic Energy Commission was huge, and they were trying to come up with ways to use nuclear energy for peaceful means.
They knew there were great gas reserves, and they were going to try to do an atomic blast down there, and they were going to frack it that way. That's how they wanted.
Was that called the Wagon Wheel Project?
Yeah, the Wagon Wheel Project.
We had a delegation go back, and they were on national television and testified in Washington, D.C. about, the impact that this would have on the community. And they managed to get that shut down. So this is a community who are more savvy than you would think. They will go to the mat for their beliefs and their convictions.
It was mid-1990s that the McMurray Oil Company came in and successfully fracked in the Jonah Field. They also then successfully fracked in the Pinedale Anticline. And they, though, quickly recognized that they were out of their element. It got so big so quickly that they sold to Alberta Oil, which then became Encana, and it was only a matter of a couple of years before all your major players were coming in from all over the world.
It sort of came in quietly. I don't think a lot of people knew what was going on necessarily.
It's not like there's a big notice at the end of town, a big billboard says the energy boom is back. You just, all of a sudden, traffic starts increasing and more guys start walking in the door. You just feel it.
It's kind of like you get pushed over the cliff and all of a sudden you're wet.
Right.
We have these gas companies moving in, bringing jobs, which initially was just a godsend for so many that were unemployed or underemployed. But then immediately word got out, I don't know how that happens, but word gets out that there's a boom in Pinedale, so we have a huge influx of outsiders that are coming to the area to take these jobs.
We got more and more new people in. All of a sudden you didn't know everybody. We used to know essentially everybody, or at least it was a familiar face.
it was sort of disarming. You didn't know people like you used to know. I mean, we knew everybody in town. I mean, it used to be like we knew our drunks, so if they walked into your house, you knew them, but now we didn't know them anymore. And so that changed the complexion a lot.
We were only 2,000 people in the whole town of Pinedale. We were 5,000 people in the entire county. So when you suddenly double that population, it's going to have a huge strain and stress on the entire community.
Housing became a huge pressure to provide housing for the doubling of the population. The fire department has to have larger trucks, more powerful trucks with four-wheel drive, and to be able to access these remote areas. The local police department, the school bus system. The school bus system had huge issues.
I was teaching in school, and I noticed a huge amount of kids coming in that didn't have the right clothing to wear in the winter. They were living in camper trailers. They were cold. We couldn't catch up to it.
Each classroom would have, on a weekly basis, new students coming in and students leaving in the same week. I don't know how they were able to, the stress and the pressure that was on those teachers was unbelievable.
I remember one day counting 72 cars between the edge of town and the turnoff to our county road, and I think that was when it really struck home for me that, boy, we're developing now.
The real question that was in everyone's mind was, how far is this going to go?
I mean, it's exhausting. I mean, you make a lot of money, but the trade-off is there's no help, because you've seen, what do I have, 3 people working over there? All 3 of those people could double their wage and go out in the oil field. So they quit you. Well, of course, I mean, you can't blame them for that.
Well, I think when the boom came to Pinedale, there was a polarization that took place.
People began to be concerned because it was their health. On the other hand, they were also concerned because it was their job.
I mean, you did have people lining up, and it was scary, Are our kids breathing stuff that's bad for us? Well, none of us want that to happen. And I think maybe people would get on the bandwagon and be concerned about that with maybe not as much knowledge as they needed to have.
Several people came together and we put on this great big forum. We had very good named people from all over the United States that came and presented at our Pinedale Auditorium.
I thought a lot of really good information came out of it. Elaine is a close personal friend of mine, and I remember sitting in our little Rock Rabbit coffee shop one day planning a birthday party for a mutual friend, and we had another gentleman who was in the environmental camp, and he came along and said, well, why are you guys sitting together? You shouldn't be doing that. And Elaine said, we're friends. I mean, we still like each other and we respect each other's differences. And I think for the most part you had that. I think, some people were pretty strident, but for the most part, I think we would overcome our differences and still look for the common good, even though we would line up on issues.
One good thing that's happened with our latest boom is that it's created really good jobs for people here. They have health and they have medical and a savings, and so everybody tries to get on those jobs, and so that's a plus.
When the boom came, money came in really two forms. The most obvious form was with the increased tax base, and that of course helped our schools and build our Pinedale Aquatic Center, etc. It's very inclusive. It's a facility that's used constantly, that's enjoyed constantly, and it never would have happened had it not been for the gas companies. Never would have happened.
It provided all kinds of infrastructure within the school. Every teacher has a whiteboard, everybody has computers, every kid has a computer now.
I am extremely grateful for the energy industry paying for the roads that are being built, for the buildings that are being built, for the opportunities that we have in this county.
Additionally, though, the gas companies had very generous grant programs. Our preschools, our 4-H programs.
The Fine Arts Council is always, for lack of a better word, tapping the Encana and Shell, and all those people are, they have an endowment that they give out money to different groups that are trying to do various things.
Shakespeare in the Park was a thing that our Pinedale Fine Arts Council did last night as well. We didn't have the money for one thing, but we didn't have the connections or the people who were interested in looking at bringing in that kind of programming.
We also have fabulous museums. It seems like we have plenty of money for all those amenities that make our community so culturally unique.
I have some friends who were working out in the gas field, and they went to work one night, and they said, 2 weeks from now, your job's going to be in Oklahoma.
The oil people are all saying, oh yeah, we're going to be here for 30 years and go build an apartment complex and double the size of your store and yada, yada, yada. And the other end is one night, they all leave. I mean, it is literally overnight, it's gone.
If I were looking at where Pinedale is now, I would say it's static. I mean, we have had significant declines in our tax revenue based on what's going on nationwide with the price of gas, and that makes a difference in what we had before compared to what we have now.
So we've seen the housing crisis sort of decline. There's now open houses and real estate on the market. I think the town is a little quieter, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just there's less traffic, which is really a positive for us when you're trying to make a left turn onto the main street.
In terms of looking at people who have come in, who have made a difference in this community, there are a number of people. If you look at the way that the Sublette County Chamber of Commerce is run now, it is the best it has ever been. I think they have over 300 members, which is a sizable amount of people involved. The gals who run that are not from here. They have come in from other places. They have a real sense of how this community operates.
I think if you look in our community, you'll find somebody who has done almost everything. We have geologists, we have molecular biologists, we have, just a great variety of people. And so our kids really, truly have an opportunity to learn from, I think, a wider variety of people.
That essentially everyone realizes that we have energy development, we're going to have energy development. We benefit a great deal from energy development, but our concern is that it be done in an environmentally healthy manner and in a manner that protects the health of the residents. In other words, responsibly.
We came up with 10 really solid, good recommendations. I can't not believe that we won't, in the long run, do the right thing. I think we're going to do the right thing. Because I guess I believe in people's voices making a difference.
What is confusing to me is some of the most vocal anti-energy development people who aren't from this area just rant and rave about the oil companies are raping the land and blah, 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 blah. But they continue to drive cars and they continue to turn on the lights. They don't understand that I also hold the environment very dear. I mean, I love to go hiking and photography, but we understand that it's just kind of part of the whole picture. You're going to use energy, you've got to get it from somewhere. It's a trade-off, and I think a lot of people forget about the trade-off part.
We continue to work hand in hand with the energy producers. The energy producers, if they will continue to search for cleaner ways to bring the gas out of the ground and to send it down the pipeline, really, that's all a person can ask.
Community, I think overall, is definitely better off for having had this gas boom. We've got some fabulous facilities that just never would have been possible without the gas boom. And our children really had some awesome educational opportunities because the schools had plenty of money brought on by the gas boom.
The oil companies, they come and go. I was here before them, and I'll be here after them. And I've got my family, and I've got my home, and we have this wonderful way of life. They came and we benefited, and then they left, and we're still good.